All right, welcome back to the channel. It's been fucking I skipped season 2 because nothing changed. So anyway, we're back in the tier list game again. Today's guests are, I'm gonna go through down the list. So we have 3 players here, all of them top 100 players and also part of the Wolves League. First and foremost, I have my all-star buddy here, Wiggins Island. AKA Shib. I love Wiggins Island, dude. Shib has like 15 characters in top 100. You know, if there's a character in top 100 and you don't recognize the name, you don't know who it is, it's probably Shib. Ranged Fizz player, probably the only ranged Fizz player where I don't have him muted. You know, usually when you have ranged Fizz players, you just turn them down all the way. But Shib is the opposite. I turned Shib up 200% because he's just built different. So he's with me on the tier list today. Thanks for coming, Shib.
Thanks.
Next on the list we got Jay Vermillion, the handsome demon himself, Dark Knight player 101. Jay Vermillion was my co-melee on the Wolves League team. Also, besides that, he had like 4 characters in top 100 last season, right?
Yeah.
The J Versace, J Ver 100, J Vergucci, J Ver Louis Vuitton, and so on and so forth.
That's actually genius, dude. I'm happy you saw it.
Oh my god. And then right after that, we actually got a guest who's never been on the show before. This is original. Ori is like 5 times top 1 player, like actual rank 1 player in World of Warcraft, and then also in Crystal Conflict and Final Fantasy. I believe he was top 100 last season. He's also like one of the first diamond players this season, and also the main healer player for Team Skill Issue, who if you're keeping up with the competitive scene at all, went completely undefeated for a majority of the tournament. Like I think they were like 6-0 coming into the final day. So thanks for coming up on the show,
sure.
Ori, and looking forward to hearing your feedback. And also, like, if you want to compare it to something from WoW, Jay is also he's also like a WoW player as well. So like, you know, feel free to like make any comparisons.
WoW season actually ends tomorrow, so I'll be 6 times.
Oh, word.
Let's go.
Let's go, buddy. That's fucking shmoney. Easy shmoney. All right.
But yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. Initially, I was gonna ask SJ to come along, but he was feeling sick. So, you know, thanks for coming on extremely short notice, by the way. So really putting through for the homies. I think I messaged him like 5 minutes ago. All right. So we're starting here with Dragoon. So if you guys aren't keeping up with the patch notes, basically Dragoon got a defensive buff where the Chaotic Strike is a recuperate now. It's 150% life, and it's affected by Life of the Dragon. So you can heal up to like 18k health every time you press Chaotic Strike or Chaos Thrust, and basically recoup is 15k HP for mana, and basically you get a free recoup every 15 seconds. In the last tier list, I had Dragoon at A tier, but I feel like I could put Dragoon in S tier here. Does anyone disagree? And if you do, like, I want to hear your points. Like, why not?
I disagree with Dragoon being A tier last tier list. Should be S as well. It was already broken.
It should have been S tier right from the bat. Right from the get-go.
Yeah, I think there's just too many people who just didn't know what they were doing. But let's be honest, this shit's not fair, bro. They get a free recoup on a button.
They should have gotten nerfed and not buffed. Like,
yeah.
Do we have any? Is there any reason why I should put Dragoon in A tier instead of S tier? Can we come up with any kind of feasible counter argument that like Dragoon is not S?
The LB can feel a bit weird, like, you know, if you're playing versus a good team, they're all just guarding. But you can always just LB off of guard. And obviously if you have a team with either Reaper or like Dance to combo, it's just guaranteed.
I feel like anything negative would just be like countered by the Dragoon itself being a better like player.
Oh, so you're saying that like any kind of detriments that Dragoon has can be mitigated by like player skill?
Yeah. It just seems pretty good. Like,
I think it's one of those classes where also where it's like they could not have an LB and they would still be insane.
Oh, fucking true, actually. Whoa.
Oh, really? Like even without an LB at all, they would be.
Yeah.
Insane.
I mean, obviously they'd be significantly weaker, but like you can play and only LB defensively or like only like LB one person off guard and like it's still so much pressure. Just all their abilities do so much. They have the highest burst in the game basically. They're really tanky, a lot of mobility.
All right. I mean, I feel like Dragoon is probably the best, like, or it's more like Dragoon is like the gold standard melee job when it comes to like team composition. You're usually thinking like you want a Dragoon +1, and we were just like speaking from personal experience here. Like we were always like kind of felt like what are we gonna do? Is since we don't have like a Dragoon main on our team, on the Sweet Dollar T team, like what are we gonna do about it? Like so we had to like come up with new team compositions since none of us were really like Dragoon one tricks. But I will say that like Dragoon does feel like it is the staple of the melee position, and because that's the case, like basically if you are playing Dragoon versus Dragoon in solo queue and you're the better Dragoon, odds are you're just gonna win more of your games. Worth noting is Sir Moon, who got to like Diamond on the second day, is the Dragoon player, and he's also the like main melee player for Drip Walkers, I believe. So very strong class. It was already very good. It's even better now. You have extra defensive options. We haven't even touched the 25-second hard roar thing. I mean, 30 seconds versus 25 seconds, you just get 5 seconds better. But like, you know, really what's crazy is the chaotic thrust lifesteal is kind of insane.
I think the only downside is that it doesn't have a stun. It's one of them only melee, really.
It doesn't have a stun, and I personally love like tempo or like setting up kills, which is great because we're about to talk about Ninja. I think Ninja is very strong, even though it's been nerfed. Ninja is that one kind of class that like I think like over since the beginning of the start of the game, it's been nerfed like 4 times. But it, you know, I'll still play it. It's still good. I don't think it's the best in A tier. I think there are going to be other A tier jobs that go above it. But in terms of like usability as a class, I mean the main thing is that like realizing that you aren't the carry. It's like a very big psychological aspect to playing Ninja, is that like if you play Ninja the way you play Dragoon or like the way you play Monk, if you feel like you're gonna get in there and kill everyone and like play the game and like solo carry, like you're just gonna ride you in and get bodied. And that's just like the difference you see between like ninjas that succeed and ninjas that don't succeed, is like how far back they're playing. Like better ninjas will usually just preserve their safety, and like as long as you're throwing stuff in there, you're gonna have a chance to you're gonna have a chance to play, and you're gonna have a chance to Satan. Regarding Satan, the Satan nerf is really bad. I feel like if they were able to give you more buttons. Okay, this is kind of annoying. This song has like the guy's thing in his So if they preserved the Satan timer and nerf Ninja in other ways, I would have appreciated more. But because like they keep nerfing Satan over and over and over again, I'm gonna make like a season 3 Ninja guy. But basically, like in short, it's okay to only get 1 or 2 resets with Ninja. I played Ninja in the competitive scene as well, And basically, good players are not gonna let you reset on them over and over again. You're just gonna have to accept like a one-man Satan or a two-man Satan, like if you get lucky, and that's just gonna be like the most you can get. As far as like the general toolkit, I think like the standard toolkit of Ninja is like very good, and I don't think that like there's any issues with it. Okay, moving on with Samurai. I actually feel like before, Samurai was sort of seen as like the weakest melee, but recently I feel like Samurai is like moving on into strong. What do you guys feel like between strong and not strong for the Samurai position?
I think it's strong. I think it definitely it has
really
like pretty good burst. You know, it's tanky. You have CC immunity. I think the one downside is that the LB can be a bit weird. Like if you're playing versus good players, they just won't ever hit your cheat 10, but you can play in a way where, you know, they're forced to eventually, and it just give you some options. I haven't been the biggest fan of it, but I think after the tournament, and we've been scrimming with it a bit more, I think it's definitely pretty good in the right comp. So maybe I would put it on comp dependent, but it's definitely like high B or low A, I'd say.
Yeah,
I feel
that's a
like
hard agree.
I feel like also like one thing to consider is that the last tier list we made, PvP or like the patch we were in was like the Black Mage Hell patch.
Dude.
So yeah.
Cursed, man. Cursed.
Yes. Ryoshi P got, you know, he got a little bullied a little too hard, you know, so he had to fix that by making Black Mage completely busted. But like now that like Black Mages are sort of like a fair class or like a normal class, like you don't see them every game permanently. Like Samurai does have room to play. And it does feel like it is not like in the niche department anymore. Like I think that Samurai is like quite good as like a standalone, like as a starter pick, like to build a team around. Jay, you were playing Samurai quite a bit in the Wolves League.
Yeah.
What do you think about Samurai, like in terms of like solo queue? Have you played it in solo queue as much, or?
Yeah, I played it. I think Samurai might be my most played in ranked right now. I want to say it's also comp dependent. Like, yes, it has a lot of single target bursts, and a lot of it's on demand. But it seems like unless you're not set up, or if you're just getting trained by 5 people, you can't really do anything. Like, a lot of it's helped by another person's stun or a Paladin cover. That's like from an actually good Paladin cover to like help you not just get blown the fuck up. Because cheat 10 is cool and all, but I feel like it lasts a little too short for my taste. Because I find myself going in, getting a lot of damage out, hitting my cast bar, and then cheat 10. And then after cheat 10, for like the 4 or 5 seconds it's up, like you got nothing and you have to walk out. That's just like, it feels kind of bad, but other than that, Midare is actually such a good on-demand 16k like button. Like unlike Dragoon where you have to like place yourself pretty far away to get max value, you can just straight rip a Midare with CC immunity and just chunk somebody.
Yeah, I will say that the CC immunity, I've seen this in solo queue, like people were farming the CC immunity timer first before Midare, since the CC immunity is like 5 seconds and the Midare is like 10, so they would just like spend normal GCDs first being CC immune, and then they would Midare at the end. What do you think about that?
Well, it might be kind of wrong, since you can just get CC'd out of Midare or pulled or literally anything out of Midare during the first initial, I believe it's like not even like 5 seconds of immunity, it's like 3 or something. It's really short, which lasts about as long as you're gonna cast it, which is nice, I guess, because it makes it so that they can't stop the 16k. But after that, it's kind of curse, like, and it doesn't stop poly, by the way, so it's okay for engaging, maybe not getting Paladin stun for 3 seconds, or if you read a Black Mage and you can Madara before a freeze, it's super good. It's like delaying a lot too, because you can Madara, be CC immune for 3, and then actually get CC'd later. Then you would Purify, have 5 more seconds of resilience, and then you'd have a guard right after the resilience. So like you.
And then your Madara would be back up. Yeah.
Yeah, you can kind of just be like big chilling for a lot of the engage, which makes it like super good frontline. Like you're just moving all the time. You're not stun locked, unless there's like a poly or something. But, yeah.
What do you think about B tier for Samurai? Is there a reason why I should put it in A tier?
Probably, I don't know. I feel like I agree with the B tier. Like the stun is super good. It's like 15-second cooldown stun for 2 seconds, and it lines up pretty well with everything else. But
if the LB gets like it's better, like it gets a buff or something, then it can be A tier. But I think for now it's
like a button that changes the way everybody else plays in the game without you even having to press it. Like as long as you have your bar filled, the game state changes, and like, and in the second you press it, you're gonna get focused and you're gonna die. It just feels kind of awful, to be honest, as a button.
All right, so I guess I'll keep it at team reliant. That's fine. Reaper has been like, I think Reaper has done the biggest like come up recently. I think Reaper went from, also received buffs, right? So it went from D tier to, we thought it was like C, it was like, oh, it's kind of playable, to now I think Reaper is like a standard good job to have in solo queue. Like I don't really have any gripes with it, and it doesn't really have like that whole like it doesn't really have like that whole team reliance thing. I think just like having a tempo Reaper who just like throws the LB out every 45 seconds, it's gonna do fine. Like it's an honest job. Like just throw your LB every 45 seconds, you're gonna get value. The crest is insane because you give everyone on your team a free recuperate. On a 15-second cooldown. One thing about Reaper teleport also is that compared to Ninja, Shikuchi, and Dragoon backflip, the Reaper teleport is like insane value because you get the first teleport forward. It's a 10-second cooldown, so the cooldown starts ticking down. 5 seconds later, you get backwards teleport. You can backwards teleport, and then the backwards teleport gives you like a way out on the same button with no cooldown. So for example, you press the forward teleport, right? You teleport forward, 10 seconds it's counting down, right? 5 seconds later, you have to backport out. You backport out on the same button, and now your forward teleport, which is the original button that you press, is like 4 seconds off cooldown, and it's gonna be back up like super short. And you can't do that on any other class. Like the getaway ability of Reaper is insane, because if you do Dragoon, the Dragoon jump is 20 seconds, and then let's say with the Dragoon jump you get the move speed buff, that's also like 5 seconds. So even if you maximize the cooldown timer on Dragoon button, you're looking at like a 15-second cooldown on Dragoon. And the same with Ninja. Like Ninja is a 15-second cooldown with a 5-second stealth. So even if I Shikuchi and I set the full stealth, you know, I'm still 10 seconds down waiting for my next chance to escape. But Reaper's downtime on escaping is only 4 effective seconds. So you're always out of there. Like you always have a chance to get out. And like to chase a Reaper down is like severely more difficult than chasing down any other class. And it's because they get the backwards teleport on the same button, and it doesn't incur like additional cooldown costs or anything. So I don't know if you guys ever noticed that, or like if you play Reaper, but like when I play Reaper, I was like, wait, my port is up all the time, because if I ever have to port back, it's like if I port back and I potion, like if I elixir, by the time I'm done with my elixir, I have the potion again, you know, like I'm never portless.
Yeah, dude.
In terms of damage, I feel like the Reaper damage is a little bit lower, but it's still like very fair. Like if you do Death's Mark into all the 8k buttons, so you have like the 2 Soul Slices and the Gibbet and Gallows, you're gonna do like a 36k combo with a 16k Death Mark pop at the end. The main issue with Reaper is that all of your damage is fully recuperable, so like the opponent can always recoup in your combo. There is no like insta giving, but the damage output is still fair. Like it's not weak by any means. And I think Reaper is like a very good like solo queue job. And in terms of LP, I would say it like dips into S tier for LP in terms of like the competitive side, like enabling Dragoon or comboing with like breaking up the team if they start clumping up together with like a Paladin cover or something. Like you could force the Paladin, the cover target, to like walk away from each other. I think Reaper might be like my second favorite melee of the patch, and I feel like it deserves A tier. Whether it's better than Ninja or not, I wouldn't say that it's better than Ninja and solo queue.
Probably not, because of the Ninja LB.
I think Ninja's pretty weird because it's really good in solo queue and it's really useless in LP.
Yeah. It feels really weird to play. Like it feels really weak to play in LP. I mean, I feel like it's not terrible because I did play a majority of the season.
It's pretty
but
terrible.
Like, if I was a Dragoon player, I would have just played Dragoon.
You
basically.
can play any melee instead of Ninja and be better, I think. In LP at least. But it's still good. I think for Reaper, I look at it more as a tank, the way it plays. And I think it's just, I mean, just so much damage. And you don't even, like, you can LB combo whenever, but it has such a low LB gen, and you can just use it as a unpurifiable CC. And in LP, you can just, like, the second you get LB off, you can LB and just kill someone in that sphere if you have a high damage team.
Yeah.
Or you can just play this tank with other people.
Yeah, you can spend it as like a one-man play.
It's more of like a setup. Like you're soaking damage and you're setting up for your team. You're able to just like hold point solo forever and you're unkillable, stuff like that.
Yeah,
but you know, it can, the only downsides are like if you can get like monk LB'd and just die, or like you can die like 100 to 0 without getting your LB off, stuff like that. It's not like a Paladin with Hollow or a Dark Knight with their LBs that make them unkillable, right? But
yeah,
that being said, you know, it's definitely really good.
Well, I was gonna say like the main counter to the Reaper LB is you kill the Reaper because he's an animation lock. So if you have like a target, if you have like one of your friends who managed to not get hit with the Reaper LB, like let's say a Machinist is on the outskirts and he sees the Reaper going in LB, like when the Reaper is like raising his hand, I mean he's fully susceptible to Marksman Spite plus Drill, and he's just gonna die. And then he can't press his buttons pretty much. It is like one of the better like point holders, but it's like you said, like it doesn't have like a real unkillable status like Hollowed or Living Dead. So you just need to watch out for that. Like you are killable. Like the Reaper tank ability comes from surviving from the port, like porting out and porting back in, as opposed to like the dry like straight up not dying cooldown that the other two tanks have. Yeah, I think it's good. I think A tier is fine for it. Is there any reason why I should put it in B tier? Like, does anyone have any counter arguments?
Nah, I think it's good at A tier.
Yeah, Reaper is one of those jobs where you can't really go wrong on it unless you're just like inting in general.
Alright, Bard. I feel like Bard is actually no, I feel like the Bard's silence is so strong that like I don't really want to put it at niche. I think like B tier for Bard is fair. Just because it seems to be like it is the worst of the 3 Fizz range DPS, but even then like it's not bad at all. Like the Bard silence goes off instantly, and if you don't have Purify, you're sitting 3 seconds. 3 seconds is so long in this game. Apart from that, like, damage seems fair. I mean, it's also a ranged job that has like self peel. So if you try to chase a Bard, you're gonna get like repelling shotted, which is like a soft CC. It's a bind, but as for intents and purposes of like the Bard, if you repelling shot a chasing target, it might as well be a hard CC because they have to Purify if they want to keep chasing you. And if they don't have Purify, you're safe. What do you think, Shib? I'm curious to hear your opinion because you are the resident ranged DPS player.
I think Bard. Yeah, I think if it's in like the team reliant tier, I don't know what they could do to put it into A tier. Maybe potency buffs or something, or like a better like LB. Because I think the LB is pretty. It's mostly just a team buff. The only thing it gives you is like weapon skill speed or something.
Yeah, it makes you like hit faster, but like
yeah.
Do you think if it gave yourself the damage buff as well, like would that make it better? Or
Yeah, I think they'll make it a lot better because it only gives your teammates a damage buff, and like at least for solo queue, you can't really rely on people to do damage a lot of the time.
what do you think about bringing Bard to LP? Do you think it has any purpose?
Yeah, I think it's like a sneaky good pick for LP, but like no one knows how to play.
Okay. Yeah, we're just waiting until we see the Wiggins Island Bard then.
Hopefully.
I don't know. I feel like I'm putting this in C or D, personally, because I think my problem with it is that I don't think you're ever gonna run double fizz range, and every other fizz range is just so much better than Bard. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't have like
yeah,
silence is good, but you're gonna run like one fizz range if you're gonna do it. So why would you run it over Mech or Dancer? And then like, it doesn't like Mech has better. It feels like it has better range, and it has a one shot, which is really reliable. And I just maybe Bard LB hasn't found its use yet, but I think it's just really weak at the end of the day. Like, what even is it? It's like it's 10% damage up, and
Yeah, I believe it's Spire plus damage.
It increases.
Yeah.
It gives you Spire. It's 10% damage up, and I think it's like recast time by 10%, move speed by 10%, right?
For the Bard player himself, he gets like the haste, like the ability, like he
Haste
casts
move
faster.
speed. Yeah.
And then for his team, they get the damage up
10%
and
damage
the
and Spire.
Spire. Yeah.
Like, but like you compare that to Dancer LB and Mech LB, and it's like a joke, right? Like you would never run it in LP ever, and I think it's solo queue. It just can't carry compared to other fizz ranges.
Yeah. One thing I like about Bard is the Nature's Mine, which is pretty good. It's like an extra purify if you put it on someone, I believe.
Yeah, it's like Aquaville for women.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna put it at C tier. I do think that it's the weakest of the 3 fizz range.
For sure.
And just because like the fizz range slot is like tight, like it's like already said, like you're not gonna run 2 fizz range. If we do enter a double fizz range meta, you know, that'll be pretty cursed. But
I feel like you would just run like double, like the casters are like you can run different types of casters. Like you can just run like.
You'd probably end up going like Machinist Dancer or something. If you were to run 2 fizz range,
yeah,
like you still would.
But I feel like if you play like a range comp, you would still play like 1 fizz range, and you would just play like Black Mage Summoner or something.
Machinist and like Red Major Summoner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's hoping Square Enix does something about this. They managed to take Reaper from like bottom of the barrel to like top of the line, so maybe we'll see something from Bard.
I feel like if I had a different LB, it would be really good.
Yeah, the LB is the main
The
problem.
LB is so bad. And I think this is like the difference between like, yeah, I don't know. There are classes which can be insane without a good LB, and then there's classes that need an LB to be good.
Oh yeah. So like, I personally like, in terms of like the LB video game or whatever. in terms of like the LB gaming, I do feel like there are some classes where it's like Samurai functions really well without its LB, and when you get the LB, it's just like a cherry on top. But like there are some classes that are like heavily LB dependent, which is like Ninja is like super dependent on, you have to bust out like an all-star play with your LB. Main issue with Bard is that like it feels like the class doesn't really do much without LB, and then when you do LB, it's like the LB is not amazing either, so just like underwhelming.
Yeah.
Speaking of LBs, I think we put Machinist here. I think
Yeah, for
Machinist is
sure.
in front of Ninja in terms of the SOLOQ tier list.
I
And
think it's like A, like bordering S, if anything.
I would say that when I played Machinist and it felt like I was just playing better Ninja. It has like the cycling between the 4 types of abilities, and then like you can choose like to spend like your analysis on two out of 4 every like 30 seconds because it's 15 seconds or whatever. And basically it feels like Air Anchor is so strong as a stun. Like it is a 12k stun that doesn't cost anything to you. Like you don't have to be in melee range. Like you just send that shit and the guy's just taking damage. Scattergun Scattergun is such a great move. Like as a personal move, like you can push someone away if they're jumping you, but like even as like a one-shot combo, like Wildfire plus Scattergun plus 1 button is gonna be like 40k plus, because if you scatter shot one guy, they take 12k damage, and then the Wildfire proc is 12k damage, and then whatever move, like whatever third move that you put in to proc the Wildfire is gonna like tip the combo into like 40k or something. And of course we're not even touching like the Wildfire Marksman Spite Drill combo.
Yeah, dude.
Why don't you tell us about like why you think like Machinist is super good, or like tell us
think-
about Machinist shit.
Potencies are just broken, like drill 20k, and like base is like broken with analysis. And then like the Bio Blaster does like 4k, or it does like 20k over a certain amount of time. And then Chainsaw is just like another 12k button, or it randomly does like 95% for no reason. And then Air Anchor is another 12k button. Like the potencies alone is like pretty broken, but I think the biggest buff was probably the turret buff, which it does like 6k a tick now, which is like a mini Sage LB every like 30 seconds. And then
yeah, right.
yeah.
The dude, the the Machinist turret is actually like 2 buttons. It's 2 ninja buttons in one. It's like a team-wide Mesui and a team-wide Doton like at the same time, because it like heals your team for 6k, like shields your team for 6k per tick, and also damages the opponent team for 6k per tick.
Yeah.
And on top of that, puts vulnerability debuff on them. It's like a 3-for-1 value buy. That shit nearly skipped my mind. Yeah, like shit
So
is
if you
so
like
fucking
put it on the point, like in
bonkers.
overtime, like you pretty much just win any fight.
Yeah, like what are they gonna do? They can't stand in it.
Because like they have to stand on the turret, and then they get vuln up, take like massive damage.
The thing is that like GCDs in this game, like normal button GCDs, like they don't go past 6,000 damage. So like let's say you're playing Monk, right? And then you do like Boot Shine, True Strike, Snap Punch. That's 3k, 4k, 5k. It's none of those buttons. Basically, like on every single GCD, you just got blocked for 100% of your damage, you know? So like the only
Yeah.
way you could win a fight versus the Machinist turret is you need like group focus to out damage the Machinist turret in one GCD and not let the second GCD proc the follow-up Machinist turret. Like it's actually so insane.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the main weakness for Machinist is like you can get run down, because your turret is like your only defensive besides like knocking people back.
Speaking
If
of
you have, like-
knocking people,
Huh?
Speaking of knocking people back, what do you think about knocking people away from the point in overtime?
Yeah, dude, I won a lot of games in Dual Seek with that. Just randomly knocking people back and then they step off the point.
Yes, man. Breaking checkpoint and the pressure you get from knockbacks is like actually so cash.
Yeah, I've won a couple of games where like it's like 2v5 on OT point, or we're about to lose, and Mac just hits like a 4-man knock and you win the game instantly. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think that the main advantage of mech is you're just able to do so much while being max range. Like it's the time honored like range versus melee thing, right? Like if the mech is able to play the game and not get dove, it's gonna be insane. But if you're like playing versus a hard aggro team that's diving the mech, it can be a bit rough, I think.
Yeah.
You're definitely squishy. You're not, you're not able to play the game how you want to play. So it is kind of, it's not like a, I wouldn't call it team reliant. I do think it's still A tier, but it is one of those things where it's like you have to change your playstyle based on how the enemy plays.
I feel like Machinist also like even like let's say like you do get someone diving on you, like you have the answer, like you have the counterplay, like, oh, you want to dive me? Alright, bro, eat this fucking like eat this like 60k damage combo like in your face. Like I feel like when diving a Machinist is dangerous for the diver, like just as much as it's dangerous for the Machinist. The Machinist, he can't turn around and like bust your face in, whereas like a Bard can only run. Like he can repelling shot and run, but like a Machinist he might just like turn his he might just bust your ass. Like you don't even know if he has LB up. He might just spend it. He might just spend it on you. Like.
Yeah, I think the two things are that it really depends on the map. Like if you're playing against mech on fire map, it's very easy to play against it.
Yeah, that's a big
and like if you're playing versus like mech on like C9 opening fight, it feels awful. Like you can't do anything, right? I think the other thing is that when they have LB, like it's pretty much guaranteed that they're gonna kill someone, right? But you can play like it's pretty. You can play around it. Obviously, I think most of the time they're gonna get killed, but they're susceptible to just getting killed when they go for it, and you can like try and like guard the drill when they try and like drill mech LB and stuff.
It's sort of like you just have to check his target, like target of target, and then you hope that like you can like server take a heal in between the two damage instances.
It kind of reminds me of Samur. It's like mech does so well against bad players, but like the better the player is, like the more they can play against the mech by like line of sighting or like knowing how to play against it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like as this tier list increases, I feel like we're probably gonna see Machinists still be at the front of the list, whereas I don't know if the same can be said about the two melee jobs here. It feels like the range position is like super value right now. Speaking of the range position, I think Dancer goes in between these two jobs. Dancer is our resident island specialist, Wiggins Island. You want to tell us about Dancership?
I think Dancer is pretty much the same from last season. I got like a one. I actually didn't get any buffs. It's kind of like Dragoon, but for range. Like it has a lot of like damage, AoE, cleave, but it doesn't have any stun out of LB.
Is there anything? Is there anything like specific about Dancer that like makes it better or worse than like the other two Fizz range, like compared to Machinist and Bard? Like what makes Dancer different?
The amount of damage you can do is pretty insane, especially if people cleave or like they group up at all, which pretty much you have to do like in overtime and stuff. You can just like do massive cleave damage and wipe out people. The only problem is the LB takes too long to get off, and you can like instantly die in the middle of it. But I think there's always some counterplay to that. So you can have teammates heal you and stuff.
I think overall that's how Dancer feels. It's like a lot of damage, but you have to play closer to melee.
Yeah.
You're more susceptible to getting killed and you're a bit squishier, so teams can definitely punish you.
Do you think that does it deserve any kind of buff? Like, is there any kind of change that you're hoping for on the dancer for next season?
I think it's fine.
All right, so like exactly as it is, like you think this is like perfect balance, like it's good but it's not too good.
Yeah, I think so.
I think, and this might be like a random technical thing, but their honing dance, I think is what it's called. I think the reactivate shouldn't be on a GCD.
Oh yeah.
Right? It just feels ugly being there.
Yeah, sometimes I have to do that because like I'll start dying in the middle of it, and then like it's a GCD and I have to wait to use another ability, which is pretty weird.
Yeah, I don't like that. But I think Dancer's broken.
Yeah, but it's hard to like. I agree that I feel like a lot of things should be changed like that, the GCD stuff. But the problem is like, you would have to nerf something else about them because they're already so good. I feel like.
Yeah, true.
All right, so I'm just gonna keep it here. Do you think that dancer is worse than machinist? Like, do you think it should be behind machinist?
Just because like you can play super safe on machinist and still do insane damage, but that's you have to go in and stuff.
I think dancer got a lot worse that Astro got nerfed. I think dancer is one of like the best fire abusers.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, I see. So because
dancer
like fire is
such
out
a
of the
big
game.
LB, like you know, it does insane damage outside of LB, but it's such a game-defining LB, and it is a pretty long cooldown, and without Spire, you know, it's pretty rough.
I see.
Mech can operate without LB for a lot of the game.
Do you think that it should be like further down on this line here, or because I don't think that it's worse than Ninja even in the current state?
Yeah, I think it's fine where it is.
I would maybe move Reaper up a bit then maybe.
Yeah, Reaper
Okay, so
should be
I'm gonna
like
play like
around the
this?
same as Dancer.
I would put Reaper above Dancer.
Oh, over here, like this.
Yeah.
All right, looks good to me. I feel like Dancer it does like the same thing as Dragoon, except in the LB is like a stun. So, and also like Dancer, even in SOLOQ, like I will say that the quality of SOLOQ, like this kind of a meme sentence obviously, but like the quality of SOLOQ like has improved from season 1. So like when people see a Dancer LB, like they will press buttons on your Dancer LB, like
Yeah.
and people like will do their best to like follow buttons, but you know, it's still SOLOQ, but it is noteworthy that like if we were still in season 1 and you would literally see like 0 damage dancer LBs, and that's why it was like niche in the first ever tier list. But like as the SOLOQ quality, like people realize that they have a dancer on their team. Like I've had Dragoon dancer combos in my games with none of the boys, pretty much like just complete like SOLOQ players that I don't recognize, and they just combo together, and I'm like, oh okay, like they know what's up. Like, it's great. So like that's just like a rare like I guess like a player skill, like that, like the ecosystem, it seems to be like better recently, but we'll see how it shapes up like over time. Alright, the Fallen King here. Black Mage. I feel like Black Mage is like a fair class. Like I put it in B tier. The way it is right now, like it is possible to send one guy on the Black Mage and just like keep him off of the fight. He needs help. Specifically, like if you are playing like a melee job, like it is possible to bully the Black Mage out of playing the game. Especially if they are not like an experienced or a seasoned Black Mage player. Like it is very easy to bully the Black Mage out of the team fight, or bait their spells onto you. This is like another concept of like countering by like not really countering. So like as a ninja, I will purposely bait the Black Mage to press their spells, especially if they're in limit break, press his like AoE 16k spells on me by myself when I'm standing far away from the team, and then I survive, I potion up, I come back to the fight. You know, he lost all of his 6 GCDs of big damage, so now he has less damage for like the actual team fight. And like that kind of like counterplay wasn't really there before, because you would just crank like every single GCD. It was like a game-breaking GCD. I think like the nerf where also like 1 stack is a slow, 2 stacks is a root, and then 3 stacks is a stun. That also like curbed the power a lot for Black Mage. Whereas before it was like just 1 stack into freeze, and then boom, freeze, and then freeze again, and then you're frozen, and then guess what, you're frozen, and then check this shit out, bro, you're frozen. Hold on, there's something in my pocket, I have it for you. It's a freeze. One more time, you're frozen. Like it was just like insanity before, and now it seems like the Black Mage has to work a lot harder to play his game, and because he has to work a lot harder, it means that like as like the countering ninja or like the countering monk position player, I can stop his game a lot easier. And that's why I feel like it's team reliant right now. I know that Jay has been playing a lot of Black Mage recently. Do you have any feedback? Like, do you think everything I said was correct, or like do you have any counter position? Like, does it deserve A tier? Can you give me like a counter argument?
I think it fills like a void in each game where it's like, wow, I wish I had a lot more damage than like what we don't have. Its cleave is kind of insane, and swift casting freezes your 3rd spell in your spell slots is actually really good. Like you can straight hard cleave and then instant pop it with super flare on 3 for like a good burst. The only issue is that I don't like with it is that you have to Aether manipulate in and burst to like secure a kill, kind of. Like that's kind of your highest damaging button, and it feels like a button that puts you
Feels
in
like
danger of
Raiju.
getting. Yeah, if
Yeah.
the button that puts you in danger of getting killed, especially on the nerf, because it used to be a 16k potency shield, now it's a 12k. You Aether manip in and you just die like instantly. And you're just like, oh, I guess like
Yes,
competent
man.
players, right? Like you get stunned up.
Yes. These gap closer moves, man, like it is never safe, man. Like
Yeah.
this is so funny. I was talking to Az the other day about like Ninja, and I said something like, oh man, I threw this game, I tried to ride you. He just fucking started laughing. He was like, you tried to ride you? Yeah, take Raiju off your hotbar.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Like, damn, true.
Yeah, it feels like, especially because the 60-second LB, right? It's the Soul Resonance that gives you instant freezes, instant flares. I still think freeze is better than flare, like in every situation. I just don't know why you wouldn't want to burn somebody's purify over just flat damage, unless like you have like a warrior, ninja, monk. You just have too many stuns where it just wouldn't matter. But the damage is still super high. I still like the damage Black Mage does. It's definitely just killable now. Like people can just walk up and kill you, or like you said before, how you can bait Black Mage to AoE you and not the team. Like a good Black Mage will just sit there and tank you like forever and just not care and just keep cleaving into the team. So like it's still
That's what they
good.
should do.
Yeah, it's still good. It's just you can just die now, right? So it's like,
Yeah.
like a machinist will just be like, hey, what are you doing, man? And just kill you. And it's just like, oh. But other than that, it's just, I think it's fine where it's at now. I think it's healthy, where you can still win team fights with it. You can still kind of carry, but you can't, like just having one doesn't mean your other team loses the game, pretty much.
Yeah, it used to be like battle the Black Mages, which Black Mage is better. But now it's like, you know, if you get a Black Mage on your team, it's no sweat off your back. Like it's still good. And if you don't get a Black Mage on your team and there's a Black Mage on the other team, you're not feeling this like fucking existential dread of like, why has the queue done this to me? This is so unfair, you know, like why is there only one Black Mage in the queue? There wasn't 2 Black Mages in the queue. Why are you doing this game? Like you wouldn't like worry about it if you nowadays if you got like only a Black Mage on the other team. It's like, oh, it's like whatever, it's a Black Mage. Do you think B tier below Samurai is where it should be?
Yes, definitely. It's like, it doesn't have an on-demand stun, right? It takes 2 GCDs to actually get a stun, as well as you have to Aether Manip teleport. You can do it on yourself to get burst, but you have to actually spend like a half GCD to get it off, to get an instant shield. It's just too dangerous, where Sam has like a little bit more agency when it comes to SOLOQ.
All right. Does anyone else have any like final words on Black Mage before we move on?
Nah.
I think Jay covered it.
All right. I think Summoner is A tier, right underneath Dancer. I think that the new meta right now, and like, you know, people always say like, oh, but like that's only at the top level of play, which is, you know, again, I've seen this in SOLOQ. I have started seeing, you know, shout outs to Original here. He made this like the strat, the Phoenix only summoner. I've been seeing Phoenix only summoners in my SOLOQ games at like gold, you know, like when we were climbing this season. Just seeing Phoenix only summoners all the time. Like I don't think I've seen like a single Bahamut summoner. And yo, Phoenix is fucking broken. Playing against Phoenix, it feels like the Sage LB thing, where it's like, ah, shit, we just gotta press S. Like we can't, like you just gotta time him out. Like trying to fight into this shit is like super annoying unless you have some kind of like mathematical like insta kill type shenanigans like Ninja, Samurai, where it's like you just play off the HP percentage, like you don't even care about like his actual life, because a team with Phoenix would just live forever. Like you're pumping in all your buttons into it, but it does like nothing. It's like so gross. Also, like they got buff with Slipstream. It's like a minor like quality of life buff. I think it's like a fun buff, but you know, it's nothing like I'm not gonna lose it. I'm not gonna lose any sleep about that. Do you guys have any thoughts about like Summoner right now, like how we switch from like Bahamut's to Phoenix's only, even in SOLOQ?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing with Summoner and why it's better than Black Mage is that its LB is so valuable. It does really similar damage to Black Mage if it gets to free cast. And I think that Radiant Aegis is probably one of the most broken abilities in the game. I mean, it's 10k shield, 20% DR on a 20-second cooldown. And you don't see it because every summoner is really bad, but that class is disgusting, I promise. Like, you can carry really hard, and the fact that you can give your allies like so much defensive and like ground control, it's very valuable for sure.
And what do you think about like the Phoenix? Like, is it the Phoenix? Like, it does like 3 things. It does has a damage over time ability, and then it also has the if your teammates ally, like if your allies hit between like a certain HP threshold, they like recover HP. Then it also has like targeted 40% damage down like whoever it auto attacks.
Yeah, I mean, it has just so much. I don't think it's always Phoenix, but I'd say almost always.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of like, I feel like, you know, it seems like the Final Fantasy PvP player base, like, because it's like a more niche player base, like they tend to like immediately adopt like the professional strats, because as soon as we saw cover guard in the Wolves League, I started seeing that in SOLOQ, like, you know, all the time. And now it's like after the last season where it was like all Phoenix, I am starting to see like people are playing Phoenix a lot more. I very rarely see Bahamut now. And you know, Phoenix is good, man. Phoenix is really good. Also, you did mention Radiant Aegis, like to have a flat potency shield and also damage mitigation on the same button. That is actually kind of insane.
I mean, like it makes, that's one of the things where my ninja is like not good. Like if you're playing versus a good player, you'll never die to a ninja unless they have like a bunch of other people on your team.
The thing is that like with ninja, everything is a choice, right? So I have to choose between my heal or my shield. But if you just have a dry button, you know, it's just like it's like a better deal, pretty much. Like you don't have to choose between damage or Radiant Aegis. It's just there, you know.
Yeah. You're just able to save your team.
Yeah. Also, it's targetable on other people. So like compared to Crest, Crest is a very good button. But Crest is only for the Reaper himself. But Radiant Aegis is shareable, and like shareable abilities are actually like super like skill intensive, which is very weird to say, but like you can tell that this person knows how to play because he shares his defensive for the target that needs it, as opposed to like someone who just like keeps the defensive for themselves. Like that's like a form of skill expression that like we don't get to see that often. Like shareable abilities where you get to like save another teammate, and because they already spent all their buttons on this teammate and he lives, that means you get to win the team fight now. And that's like a form of skill that's like a little bit underrated. Shib and Jay, do you guys have anything to say about Summoner?
Yeah, I think it was covered pretty well.
Yeah,
Alright.
especially solo queue, like Bahamut. It's like you press it and it's not like insta kill. Like sometimes it can be insta killed if it's combo with everybody, but 9 times out of 10 you're draining like 2 recoups off of the entire enemy team, and it's just like, bruh, okay.
Alright, yeah, Summoner is very good, and like has it has CC like on its abilities, which is very as opposed to needing a setup with the super flare, it just presses like the slow or the root or whatever, whichever one the Summoner wants to go.
Yeah.
I would say actually the Summoner like clump in ability, where like it hits you and then you all get like forced to clump in. That is
Drawings
like more
are
annoying.
underrated.
Yeah.
Drawings
that's
are
like
so
more
underrated.
annoying. Yeah. We're gonna get to drawings soon. Don't worry, I got you. Where's Red Mage? I feel like Red Mage is like still good. I feel like class got nerfed like 5 times. It's still fucking cranking damage. It plays like a melee assassin. Like most of the gameplay of it is melee assassin. Has a very good like team fight ultimate. Very good utility with Frazzle or Magic Barrier. You know, you could choose whether you want defensive or offensive. Having like 18k recuperates is like super good in a team fight. I feel like Red Mage is sort of like the most studied, or like since it was like broken since day 1, like people have like talked about Red Mage, and it's like it survived like 2 nerfs and still gets to be A tier. Like the class is just good. You know, there's really nothing I could say that hasn't already been covered. You have a AoE silence or AoE bind. You've got very high potency, damage over time, melee combo. Even the downtime combo, like the downtime casting, is 5k into 5k. You know, that's still fair. It's just a good class all around. Like I don't have really any complaints with it. Only thing I have to say about Red Mage is that like if you're like not a seasoned Red Mage player, you may catch yourself running in and dying, like because you have 2 dashes. You might dash in, you know, do your combo and then dash in again, and then just find yourself surrounded by the enemy team. That's like something that I've seen happen in SOLOQ. Like my Red Mage goes into Narnia and I'm like, bro, I'm the ninja and I don't even want to go follow you into that Narnia place that you're going into. So I think Red Mage has always been good. Nothing wrong here. Do you guys have any thoughts on it before I move on?
I would put it pretty high up in A, just because it has the highest or second highest burst in the game, and it's able to just it's one of the only, it's pretty much the only range that is able to like effectively dive with melee. You can dive backline pretty easily. Has really good burst. I mean, it's LB. I mean, you're gonna kill someone if you do use it correctly. I mean,
do you want to switch it ahead of, like, do you think it's better than Dancer or better than Reaper?
I'm curious what you guys think. I would definitely have it above Dancer. I'm not sure how high I would put it. It's definitely it's I think it depends on the comp, but I think the ability to just like play backline and like just crank damage or just like be able to hard dive is pretty valuable, and the burst is just so high.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Where do you think it should be, Shib, between in the A tier list position? Where do you think it should be?
Probably right around Reaper.
So here is fine.
Yeah.
I think it could be actually ahead of Reaper in a way, because Reaper, if you're playing Reaper right, you're not really parsing for damage, right? So that's
Yeah.
not crazy agency.
I mean,
Whereas
all
Red Mage,
of these are just very different role in the team, right? And it depends what team you're playing. But I think for carry potential, like Red Mage is definitely higher than Reaper.
Yeah.
I think that like the Reaper flip, like the Reaper tempo on the LB just makes it like too good. I don't really want to put Red Mage in front of Reaper because I think that basically like the Reaper gameplay like finagles wins more often, even though like the damage might be lower. It just sort of like cheeses out wins easier because you get that 45-second AoE fear, and you also get this like rat behavior where like you're stealing all the potions, you're dunking and diving, you got a 4-second cooldown on your port. It's like this gameplay is just like uniquely win inducive. Like it will come up with a win even though like the scoreboard might not show it in the end. I feel like Red Mage can also come up with a win, but like it plays like a much more traditional, like it wants to get kills, it wants to do high damage, and basically like the counter play to Red Mage is like standard counter play behavior, like oh focus to Red Mage or counter dive him when he dives, that sort of thing. But like the counter play to Reaper is like for most of the game you just want to be not hitting him, and then as soon as he LBs you want to kill him. that's like, because the Reaper forces like a different game strategy, it's like super effective in solo queue, whereas like you can counter Red Mage through like more like straightforward means of gameplay, if that makes sense.
That's right. It's definitely like comp dependent, I think.
Alright, I feel like this job is actually the best fucking job in the game. I actually think Paladin is the best class in the game, right? Like I was a little bit on the fence before in the previous tier list just because Black Mage is in the game, but even in the Black Mage era patch, I think the Paladin was the third job from A tier. Like we knew it was strong, but the way Paladin is shaping up right now is that like, bro, if my team doesn't have a Paladin and their team has a Paladin, I'm feeling that like sadness, that like, oh boy, here we go. Like you're gonna have to sit the, like if you don't hit the Paladin, you try to focus someone else, that guy gets cover guarded, and now you have to sit both of them. If you sit the Paladin first, you know, like, well, you know, everyone knows that you're gonna want to hit the Paladin first, so now like you have to chew through all the healing. You could try a target swap, but if the Paladin's awake and he's not falling asleep at the wheel, he's just gonna cover your target swap. So basically any job, so Paladin forces like advanced gameplay out of the opponents. So what you want to do against Paladin is you start hitting the Paladin, he starts receiving healing, you target swap, he cover guards the target swap. You have to like target swap a third target and then instantly burst that third target while the guy is guarding. Like while the potion guard is going out, you want to target swap a third target to like kill that target while the first two people are like potting. And like that sort of requirement of skill is just like, it's asking for way too much in a solo queue environment. And even though I said like the solo queue ecosystem was improving, I don't think it's improved that much to like ask for a triple target swap. You know, sometimes the Paladin is bad and then he just guards with no cover. I mean, he covers with no guard and you just kill him, you know, happy birthday. But like usually it's like you're gonna have to play like a very, very long team fight, and like any snap burst attempt, if the guy is like awake, he's gonna read it. So it's for these reasons that I think that like Paladin is the #1 class in the game. I think Paladin has twisted the Final Fantasy PvP like such like a very cancer state. It seems that like it is a mandatory job. Like we tried to see some like counterplay like compositions for it. I remember originally that like the goat comp, the goats, which was the scholar Astro plus Dragoon Reaper summoner, that was like really good against the Paladin meta. because you can get the Reaper, you could fear the cover guard target, or you could break guard and just kill them all anyway with the Dragoon LB if someone did cover guard. And you also had like the long team fight advantage with Scholar plus Summoner, so you could take long team fights. But I really think that like Paladin needs a nerf, and it doesn't need a nerf in terms of like vanilla nerfs. It needs like the way that they nerf Ninja, where like they like severely crack the ankles on the class in like some like coherent manner, like not like a potency nerf. Like it needs like a type of nerf with its abilities that do not interact the same way. So like sprinting under stealth was like a really big advantage. Like now you don't have that. So I really think that like there needs to be something about Paladin where it's like the cover cannot prevent the person from channeling. Like you need to do like a 99% damage transference, so that like you know, for most intents and purposes the person getting covered is still like covered, but he can't just like channel the potion. You know, he still receives one hit of damage or whatever.
Yeah, I think maybe there's a couple of different things you can do. I think one of them is definitely nerf cover, and you can either do that, as you said, by making it like 99%, or another way is like by making it so that the cover target is immune to damage but not immune to CC. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just went on like a whole rant about Paladin. Like, do we have any disagreements? Like, do you think that Paladin doesn't deserve S tier? Is there any like counter argument?
It's definitely S tier, but I don't know if I would put it above Dragoon.
I'd say this might be a question for Ori actually. Do you think poly on Paladin and then burst target another person would be the move?
Yeah, we
would you
usually do it with it depends on the situation, right?
Yeah.
The way I see it is that if you're doing a swap correctly, even if they get the cover off, the way it takes so long to go off, you're able to kill someone in some poly.
Yeah.
But usually how we do is we use like a silence on Paladin.
Gotcha.
In a fight where like we don't have a CC, and I definitely poly Paladin sometimes though. Yeah.
Yeah, because like in SOLOQ, that's why I don't feel like it'll be ever above Dragoon. Because in SOLOQ, a lot of my goes, if I have a stun, if I'm playing Sam or if I'm playing Monk, and even on Black Mage too, right? So it's like you can prep 3-stack freeze on a Paladin, and then go and then mark a kill target, and then when you super flare the kill target, the Paladin's gonna be frozen as well, or you dash stun Paladin and then medio kill target. I feel like adding that one extra GCD just for one person, like one person's work, I feel like there's still some counterplay. It's still stupid. Like cover guarding is not healthy for the game.
Yeah,
but
I think the main thing is that they just have Hollowed, which I mean it's such a long TV, but it makes it
Hollowed is so.
Dude, Hollowed with no team assistance was already fucking jacked in Feast. Like, just without like giving your whole team fucking 50% down, right? But now that Hollow gives like 50% damage down, like you just have to fucking leave. Like there's nothing, like you are just done, you know? I would say like the counterplay to Hollowed is you just send your Dark Knight in by himself. Yeah, bro, just stall for the 10 seconds of Hollowed, bro. Just sit on the point for 10 seconds. You know, like
I think the main problem is that's just like one of the biggest counterplays to Paladin is just always calling Paladin and killing him in stun poly. And if he has Hollowed, it's very hard to make that happen. Like, or you're like forced to commit so much just for him to pop Hollowed before they go.
Yeah. A big problem in LP against Paladin is like you get advantage, but then they'll come in with like Paladin LB, and if you're like losing, then it's like impossible to come back. That happened to us a lot last season.
Yes. Like, I was gonna say that, like, Paladin is just like, you better hope you win the first fight, man. Because if you are coming up on the second fight and the Paladin has LB, and you have to fight the losing battle into a Paladin LB, you might as well have just lost the game, pretty much. You might as well have just lost the game, pretty much. So it's just like I you know, you're asking me like, do you think like it should be over Dragoon? I think it should be. Like, if you lose a fight to Dragoon in mid, then you're respawning and you have to take the second fight at 50% on your base. That's like a winnable fight still. Like, you could win that fight. You could play into Dragoon LB. You can't play into Paladin LB. The counterplay of Paladin LB is fucking leaving. It's insane.
Yeah, for sure. I think the problem with the run problem with Paladin is that, you know, obviously doesn't bring the most damage, and so you have to have a comp that either relies on LBs or relies on having enough damage even with the Paladin, which it's not that hard to do.
Yeah, I feel like the counterplay, like we did develop counterplay for it, but it's like the counterplay that you need for Paladin is like, it is not easily accessible in SOLOQ. So like, for example, like you can advanced play, like you can do like a triple swap, or you could do a double swap where you stun the Paladin so that he can't cover. So like you just swap from the Paladin to a target, and then it's when you super flare both of them, the Paladin gets frozen. But like, these are like, you know, we are coming up with these counter plays because we know how to play the game. But like, the fact that the Paladin demands, like a Paladin on the team demands this sort of like gameplay adjustment is already like showing that it has like an effect on SOLOQ that is not replicatable by the other jobs. Like, the other jobs do not force you to play in such a unique manner, even though, like, you know, swapping targets is always effective, and like you don't want to hit a target that's like guarding, or a target that's getting heals, or a target that's receiving any kind of assistance. But like, the fact that like cover is just so strong, it's just like extremely poor for the game. And you know, I don't like it at all, but you know, if it's the best, it's the best. You know, you're just gonna have to accept it. Is there any like last things that we missed on Paladin? Oh, bro, shield bash being 3 seconds. Oh my god. Dude, I forgot about that. 3 second stun. 3 sec. You're saying that if you don't have purify for that, you are sitting in there for forever. Like, you can die in one shield bash because of the extra second.
Yeah, shield bash. 3 second stuns in general are just kind of insane, not gonna lie.
It's bonkers class. Alright. Do you have any last words before we move on?
I think that's about it.
Alright, Warrior was buffed this patch. Even though it's buffed, I don't think it's super good. I'm gonna put it here, up in between Red Mage and Dancer. Actually, maybe like here. I think it's worse than Dancer. What do you guys think about Warrior?
I think it's fine where like...
Yeah, I'm fine with where it is as well.
Like, in terms of agency, it definitely has more shit. Like, it can do more shit in a game than Summoner can. That will net you kills rather than being super on top of shielding somebody, or just AoE cleave that can burn mana bars but it won't kill somebody. But screaming off somebody's guard into Primal Rend, getting their Purify, and then Bloata them back in, like, if anybody else is watching and you do that, it's pretty much a kill. Or at least it should be a kill.
Yeah, I think the one problem with Warrior, so I mean, it's really good. You can Primal Rend to get Purifies, you have, you know, LB's great. One problem is that, you know, why are if you're playing Warrior and you're not playing Paladin, you're sacrificing Cover Guard and Hollowed. It's just too good to pass up on. So if you're ever playing Warrior, like, you're playing Warrior with a Paladin, basically. It's like really hard to justify.
That sounds so scuffed.
Yeah, it's just so hard to justify dropping a Paladin if you're gonna be playing a tank or like an enabler. Like, I see Warrior as an enabler, like, that's the stun, that's the front line. And if you're playing that over Paladin, you have to like commit to playing like hard offense, just like the most possible damage. I don't know if that's that realistic.
Well, that's
I think that's what happens to a lot of tanks here. It's just like, okay, is it better than Paladin? No, it's not. Can you play it in a comp with a Paladin? Okay, then it's playable. If you can't play it in a comp with a Paladin and it's replacing the Paladin role, like, you have to have like a insane reason to do a summon, and usually it's not the case.
Yes, exactly. And like that was also like a big issue that we came into with our team composition, is that like we played warrior versus paladin, and like the warrior was fulfilling like the bodyguarding like rule where he would like cover the back line and like stun people who are trying to dive. But like, you know, we had a warrior player, so like that's fine, and like we ended up going very well with our team, so like no complaints there. But like just imagining like if our warrior player was a paladin, it's like how much more value would we have gotten. Like it would have been like super free pretty much. Like we were like, you know, we were like held back, or like we were held back by two things: the ninja player and the and the warrior gameplay. But yeah, like I feel like the main problem with warrior is that it doesn't function as a protector. It has like the protector archetype where like you want to like primal red targets that are like diving your backline, but it doesn't have cover. So what ends up happening is that like someone dives your astrologian. Let's say you're playing warrior. Someone dives your astrologian. You primal rend the diver. You blow to the diver away from your astrologian. Okay, you bought like 3 seconds, you know. Now they're back on your astrologian. But if you're the paladin player and someone's diving your astrologian and you cover guard the astrologian, you bought 5 seconds plus full mana plus 10 seconds left over afterwards from the cover if you have a defensive like the Holy Sheltron up. It's just way better. And like warrior also doesn't do enough damage to classify as like the damage tanks, which we're gonna get into, because I think that the damage tanks are actually very good, like very, very good. And by virtue of just being like high damage, like the warrior doesn't do enough damage to like it doesn't do the Dark Knight position well, and it doesn't do the Paladin position well. And we're gonna get into like the Japanese composition, where you know, Japanese teams are playing Paladin Dark Knight, and like the Dark Knight is like the cranker, is like the melee cranker, the parsing job. I think warrior is still like, you know, it's not the worst thing in the world. Like none of these jobs are necessarily bad, but it's just like the trade-off, or like the FOMO, fear of missing out, like just like of not having a paladin, you know, that's just like the only thing it has against it. Even with week 1 warrior status, when it was like super buffed, it's still like living in the shadow of paladin, unfortunately. Do we have any other comments about warrior before moving on?
I think I'm good.
All right, Dark Knight. Dark Knight. I'm putting Dark Knight here. I think Dark Knight is actually like, in my opinion, I'm gonna say that I think Dark Knight is the best, or like the second best offensive melee DPS job in the game. Like the class in the right hands just cranks out infinite damage, front lines properly. It has a proper frontline position, has great survivability, forces buttons on itself since it can survive, has great stalling, and also like great burst damage in combination with CC. You can't ask for more. I feel like Dark Knight, we were on the fence about it. Like we didn't really know anything about it in the last tier list, but I feel like we didn't get to Monk yet, but like one of the biggest changes that we brought to our Wolves League team was switching the quote-unquote parsing, or the DPS melee position. So like, let's say a composition will have like support melee position, and then carry melee position, and then healer, tank, and then ranged position. Switching the parsing or the carry melee position from Monk to Dark Knight saw huge dividends, because you actually get to play the game, as opposed to Monk where you're just like a media drive bot. But why don't you go ahead and you know, take the spotlight on this one, Jay? What do you think about Dark Knight?
Okay, Dark has like 2 roles to it, right? and you can't do both at the same time unless you're under Eventide, I think. So the first, what you were talking about, like the carry role that Dark can do, if it's a support DPS. So if you're running Paladin Dark, and you don't have to worry about covering like random people or using your salteds mainly for its damage reduction, healing, and like binds and stuff, you can just use it offensively to root your kill target. It's actually disgusting. Like the amount of damage you can do by riding a 25% threshold and still being like under threat, or giving the enemy team like a threat of, even though you're 25%, you can still get covered, or you're running a healer like a white mage and you can still get spot healed. It's the damage you can pull out is around like 12k a GCD. So your Shadowbringer or Blood Spiller, and if you're really forward and no one's hitting you and they're just letting you just run over their backline, you can just double weave Shadowbringer for an extra 12k. So you're hitting around, I think it's like 17, 16k GCDs every second. It's good for like training people. Like I think for Sweet Dollar 2 we used it to train black mages. Like I was just solo killing black mages. By the time you guys kill Dragoon or kill somebody else, the black mage has 0 mana and is running away from me, right? On the flip side, Salted as a defensive button, as well as TBN with an AK shield, and Salted being 20% damage reduction on top of a potency heal that like regens you for 10 seconds. And it overlaps too, right? So like you can walk into Salted, get a regen, and then walk out of it, and you'd still have your health ticking up, which is good. Actually, like an insane frontline. Like if you don't want to die on Dark, you don't die on Dark unless you're like polyed, full stun without Purify or no guard. Eventide, also the same thing, right? You can be full HP or around like 80% HP, and you use Eventide, you're hitting a 20k banger, being put in threshold for Blood Spiller, which lets you hit like 12k spillers on top of Shadowbringers. Like you're just dumping damage, or you stall, right? You wait until around like 20% or you're about to die, and then you Eventide, you just bought yourself 10 seconds of like immunity of just, you're not gonna die. You're obviously like in like a really shitty spot, but under Living Dead you'd have double healing, right, on your buttons. So one good Quietus and you're back to full HP. Just the job is actually so good, but as a solo tank, it's awful, I think. Like if you're running just a Dark, like what Original said, it's not gonna, you can't do it all.
You can't enable him. You have to allow the Dark Knight to just like swag on the opponent team. But if he's like stuck playing bodyguarding, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, and a lot of it's like you're going in and then you're going out, because your mana bar at that point, if you're not being focused, is no longer just like sitting there at 100% like other melees. You're straight using your mana bar for more damage. More damage you get out, like it's actually insane how much you can put out. But if you're doing that as a solo tank, then it's troll, because you're just gonna die like instantly, to be honest.
Yeah, man. I'm actually like, my opinion on Dark Knight is like, I'm a Dark Knight fan now. Like at first we were like not sure about it in the last tier list, but yeah, honestly, like playing with like giving you the Dark Knight to play with, like that was like one of the best like moves. And then like seeing Dark Knight, because now I've seen like other Dark Knights in SOLOQ, and like it's like what we said, where like people watch the competitive scene and then they start like emulating it in the SOLOQ games. And now like I'm seeing Dark Knight players in my SOLOQ games, and I'm like, damn, this guy's fucking like, he's doing exactly what I want. Perfect. Like I feel like this is like, what am I playing? Am I playing like an LP game right now? This guy just hit like a 4-man salted. All right, bro, I'm about to get in there. Like this shit
like,
is money.
It's just like, it's so, aside from the one weakness it has, which is
no escape.
Damage. Well, it's got no escape, but I feel like the plunge reset kind of warrants that. If you're diving on Dark and you plunge somebody and that target should die, then you should be fine. It's just, if any of them on their team has a damage down paired with healing reduction, dude, it's miserable for Dark Knights. like a Scholar player will just shut down a Dark by themselves, and there's not really much a Dark can do about it, right? Because you're doing less damage with your Shadowbringers, so that means you're spending 12k HP for like a half damage Shadowbringer on top of the healing that you would receive from Quietus being cut as well, and it just neuters your class pretty hard. Almost to the point where it's unplayable if you don't dodge, or it's playable, but at that
You
point
have to somehow not get hit by bio.
if you're playing competitive at that point and you're facing too many Scholars, and if you're trying to solo tank or do whatever on it, and they know what you're gonna do with it, you might as well just swap off of Dark at that point.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good. Same thing with Summoner as well. You can TBN other people as well, which helps. Like 8k doesn't seem like a lot, but that's like a GCD of half damage just negated. Pretty good.
I feel like just the way like classes work in this game, like it's a very like rock paper scissors type class. Like if they don't have the tools, then they don't have the tools. If they have the tools, then they have the tools. You know?
Yeah.
Shib and Ori, do you have anything to add, like, or do you feel like it was like covered?
I don't know. I'm not that sold on Dark.
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't played
I
it
mean,
that much,
that's
so
good.
I can't.
You need Paladin to play, and it's like, is it really worth losing another melee DPS to run it? I don't know.
Well, you would assume, like, let's say the Paladin is like guaranteed to be in the team anyway. Like the Paladin's always gonna be there. So like you just treat the Dark Knight as a melee position DPS.
Right, but I'm saying that like I would rather have a Sam.
It's like low-key sim, right? Like Dark, I feel like Dark alone is super good. Like if we're playing solo queue, Dark is disgusting in solo queue. But a lot of the time, you're sacrificing another stun, right? With a draw and bind, that's also your defensive. I think that's another big point why I feel maybe it's not played as often in LP as it should. Because the bind itself is already kind of a scuff button. Like, you draw in, and then you press bind. Sure, they'll be binded, but they'll probably be server tick bound outside of the salted somewhere in Africa, right? It just doesn't feel very good, but...
Yeah, so the way I see it, it's like... Okay, so you're playing something that requires Paladin, and you're playing this only to like do as much damage as possible. And it's good that's melee, it's definitely A tier, but what you're losing is you're losing a stun, and I'm not even counting drawing as a thing. Like it's not, you can guard, like
yeah,
it's not that good. So if you're playing that, I don't see it being better than Sam in a team comp where like you're running like double melee, like you're always gonna run Dragoon, and then I would probably say like you're running like Dragoon, Sam, Paladin, and then like a healer, probably White Mage, and then a caster, probably Red Mage.
yeah.
You can definitely swap the Sam out with Dark Knight and it'll go crazy, but I just don't see it. Like Sam, you don't need an LB at all, and you'll crank damage the entire time, and you have better burst than Dark Knight. And your LB functions in a similar way to Dark LB, where like they're like if you go them, they can pop it, like they can pop cheat and you're kind of scared to go them. I think Dark Knight can obviously like do the tank role a lot better, and if it, but like I don't know. If it cranks that much damage, and I have seen it crank a lot of damage, it's definitely good. But I feel like that's like you rolling over like a bad team. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's I feel if the meta wasn't burst, then Dark Knight would probably be like insane. But because Dark takes so many GCDs to actually get damage out, like it does a shit ton of damage, but it takes a lot of fucking blood spillers, right? In a game where Dragoon can just press 2 buttons and you're half HP. So yeah, I agree with that.
I think it's still really good, and it's definitely like close. I mean, we're gonna test it out as well and see, but I'm just gonna assume that you want to be able to kill people in a stun poly, and I don't think Dark Knight doesn't bring enough damage. So if you're doing that, you're saying, okay, I'm either dropping a healer or I'm dropping Paladin, and I don't think you can ever drop Paladin.
Yeah, you're not gonna drop Paladin. Like Paladin's like permanently.
So if you're playing it in like a really long, drawn out, like sustained damage fight, which you can make work, but I don't think it's good enough.
I think that in terms of like thinking about like the carry melee DPS, I would say like Dark Knight fulfills like the sustained DPS position, but the main issue right now is that like you said, like it is a sustained DPS position is not really like in market right now.
It's not. It's not contested because it doesn't have a stun. I don't think.
Yeah, it just doesn't have a stun.
If it had a stun, then it would be fucking disgusting, right? But at the same time, Sam and Dark would be doing the same amount of damage if they were both left untouched. But Sam's gonna secure more kills because the damage is A, pulled out faster, and B, it's gonna be done under a stun, where Dark can't do any of that without team assistance. It's definitely comp based, but yeah, I still think it's good in SOLOQ though. Like,
I think the solo
it's
queue
very
difference is that like it doesn't really require like the Dark Knight can just go in and swag on them fools and like heal up all his HP back, like not even like a care in the world. Whereas like in solo queue, like the Sam can't really do that. Like it seems like solo queue environment knows how to play against Samurai more than they know how to play against Dark Knight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the role in LP. I think Dark Knight carries harder in solo queue, but in LP, Sam is like the stun initiator, has a lot of burst, and then, you know, can function outside of its LB. Where Dark Knight, it feels like it needs its LB to really crank. And, you know, I don't know. But you can do some cool stuff. Like, can't you, you can like cover LB and stuff.
I was gonna say like the Dark Knight Paladin, we actually are looking forward to trying that because we just got our like we were down like a roster change or like because initially we had like a Paladin player on deck, but we didn't have him for the whole season. But now that we have a Paladin player, it's gonna be like very interesting to see Paladin Dark Knight. I'm very excited for that.
And you can definitely use some sick stuff too, where like you have like 2 CC immune.
Yeah, he just pulls up
Or like you know, like
hollow
damage immune.
ground. Like picture this like hollow ground cover the Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is cranking. The cover runs out. The Dark Knight LBs. The Dark Knight is still cranking. He's cranking for a grand total of 25 seconds.
So I think it's definitely really good. I just don't know how good.
Yeah, time will tell. This meta right now, dude, it feels so bursty, especially with the comeback of White Mage. It's so bursty.
Yeah, the way I see it, like you're playing White Mage comps with a Paladin and you're trying to kill someone in stun poly. So like anything with burst is gonna be really insane.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
We are approaching the other Fallen King. I don't like Monk that much at all right now. I think Monk has been reduced from what it used to be. I played Monk a little bit in this season, and like trying to get in there and like roll my GCD and slug it out and fight and press buttons and like, yeah, I'm the Monk. I'm gonna dash it and press buttons. Like, bro, you're just gonna get farmed. Every time I try to do like the Monk for fun gameplay, I just get farmed. Like, I want to get in there, I want to jump in on the guy, I want to press buttons, but like as soon as you dash, it's like you dash into dead, true combo. And like the correct way to play Monk now is like I'm playing backline. I'm just sitting next to my Astrologian, I'm waiting for somebody to dive my Astrologian or my White Mage, and then I stun plus enlightenment that guy, and I press buttons on this guy in the back line by himself. I'm never taking like a frontline fight, you know. What about Riddle of Earth? Riddle of Earth is also like it's like a shadow of its former self. Like my Riddle of Earth button has been reduced from like the stylish like turnaround play button, playmaker button, to like my Riddle of Earth is now only my Meteor Drive button. Every time I want to Meteor Drive, I pre-pop Riddle of Earth. Because I know that when I Meteor Drive, the whole team's going to try and kill me. I'm going to land with 1% HP if I do land at all. I'm going to land with 1% HP, and then I'm going to slam the Riddle of Earth button as fast as possible to hope that I live. And like, just that gameplay, like that gameplay loop is like extremely boring, unfun. It is technically effective, but you don't really get to play like the Monk that you imagine, or like the Monk that you wish you were playing from like season 1, where like, you know, you didn't get focused that much because everyone was focusing on like the White Mage or the Red Mage, but like you don't really get to sit there and press buttons. So like what ends up happening is you just have to hope that your team can win the 4v4 while you're like in the back bodyguarding your healer, and that's sort of like what you're doing on Monk until you have Meteor Drive, and then you Meteor Drive somebody, and like you just hope that, you know, because the Meteor Drive combo is 48k if you don't do like any perfect setup. With perfect setup, you add 1 GCD, and it turns it into like a 56k combo because you get the Boot Shine plus the True Strike. But like it seems like that the general ecosystem of the player base like are so like Monk focused, like they can check the Monk super fast, or like they're very aware of the Monk existing, so like you might not even get a chance to do that. So as a result, I feel like Monks have become very team reliant now, where it's like you're just playing backline in like a very like timid manner, as opposed to like previously where you're like a pseudo frontline, and it's like you're just playing like the best way to play Monk is like playing Rat Monk, and like playing Rat Monk is not fun pretty much. What are your comments? I know Jay, you were like the Monk one trick, and like you pretty much like discarded it for Samurai and Dark Knight.
Yeah, I played it a bit. It's in solo, and this is like SOLOQ based, right? Because I'm not really well versed in LP Monk. SOLOQ.
LP Monk is even worse.
SOLOQ, I think it's alright still. Like it's still really fucking strong. Your Meteo.
And also Meteo nerf. I didn't even touch the 15 seconds on Meteor Drive.
Yeah, the Meteo, I think it's still fine, man. Cause like before you were using it to like farm kills on people, right? You hit 60 seconds. Yeah, you hit 60 seconds and boom, somebody's gonna die. Like if the Monk knew what they're doing, somebody's gonna die. Or unless you have like fucking original on the enemy team perma healing every single fucking Meteo.
I just curse you, SJ Sharks. You've ruined another one of my
unless it's like a hyper brain player on the enemy team, you're gonna kill somebody with Meteo. Now it just moved that time back, right? There's no LB that's gonna be faster than 70 seconds unless it's Reaper.
Dude, we're about to enter Gunbreaker, man. Gunbreaker.
I feel like
I promise.
I think Monk is still really strong. I think the main problem with it is that it got double nerfed by... So first of all, I'm only looking Monk as a Meteor Drive bot, because that's just what it is, right? Yes. You just click someone and you kill them, right? That's why it was so good. I think the problem is that it got nerfed twice, where its initial gen got nerfed, and then this is another one of the big ones where Astro Spire nerf really affected Monk a lot.
Oh yeah.
So I think the fact that they nerfed it doubly is a big deal.
Yeah.
But it's still very strong.
It does what it needs to do. Meteo will still murder somebody's face up. Like in SOLOQ, a lot of the games right now are, if you don't kill Dragoon, or if you don't kill somebody who's high damage instantly and let them do whatever they want, your odds go down in the game like a lot. I think this could be map dependent too, because you could always use Feather and Orbs to kind of act as a pseudo Spire for Monk, but you just Meteo, say a Dragoon perma, like every time before their LB, like they'll get half as many LBs like in that entire game just because you're playing Monk. It's still super fucking good, but in LP, like that much time minus Spire taken off of your Meteo in like a competitive game, especially with white mage buffs and everything going across, dude, it's gonna be so hard to play Monk now. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do you think that Monk deserves like a different placing, or it should stay here? I cannot really justify Monk being better than Black Mage.
I think Monk is better than Black Mage.
Really?
It's on-demand stun and a second health fire rate. And if you're pairing it with Paladin, I think you're perma-fine. You don't get insta-shot. You have 60k HP, Black Mage has 48. It's just, and once again, Burst is king, and Monk has more instant damage than Black Mage at this point.
Okay. It's definitely not better than Samurai.
I would put it under, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't seen too much of like new Sam and like how it fits now, where you would replace it, because I think like the main front is like Reaper, Samurai, Monk, right? You choose between those three, is what I'm kind of feeling. Depending on your comp, at least.
Yeah, Monk still has a stun, still has a lot of damage, it's still pretty tanky, so it's still good.
Okay, okay. But do you think this placement in the tier list is fair?
I think so.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe a bit above Sam. It's about the same though.
Yeah, I think it's about the same as Samurai right now.
Okay. Alright, we're gonna start entering Gunbreaker. Gunbreaker is slowly becoming my favorite SOLOQ class. I like it more than Ninja. I think I played Gunbreaker for the most recent tier. Like in my most recent SOLOQ session, I went Gunbreaker only. And yo, that class is fucking bonkers. You never run out of damage, and you have a 60-second LB, and you have if you are concerned about dying, you have the option if there's a tank on the other team. So actually, this is very interesting. Is like that the options on Nebula, Heart of Light, and Blasting Zone. Like Nebula is actually so cash money. Like sometimes in solo queue you don't get to choose. Like I'm solo tank of my team versus another tank. So like being able to choose Nebula, and like if I want to survive, I take Nebula. Like there was like a moment in overtime where I just ran it in with Nebula and full mana, and I literally lived everything. And then I got out, I potted, I took double down, or not double down, the blasting zone. Like I stole blasting zone, and then now that I've survived all the damage, I come back and I just blasting zone double down somebody for like 30k HP. There's nothing this guy could do, and he's fucking dead. And then also, I don't know if you guys knew this, but the gap closer on Gunbreaker gives you sprint for like 5 seconds plus % damage up for 5 seconds. So like every gap closer is like, it's like the 3 different effects. Like you gap close, you do more % damage, and you have sprint move speed. It's crazy.
Bro,
This class
I promise you, it's actually more broken. I think No Mercy is actually a really good button because it gives you healing up as well. So when you're under No Mercy, your recoups heal more.
It's so cranky, bro. It's crank. I'm pressing buttons. I'm never out of damage. I'm never out of damage. And you know what I mean? I'm used to playing Ninja where I have like spikes and valleys of damage. Like I have high damage, I have 0 damage. I have high damage, I have 0. Gunbreaker, I have high damage. I'm always on high damage. I'm always on high damage. It's like I do the fucking backflip, triple flip, front flip combo, and then double down, and then blasting zone, and then I do the burst strike plus continuation. I steal some other shit because every time you steal something, you get the burst strike again. So you just steal, like, even though you're DPS junction, you just re-steal DPS junction again to get the new, like, to get the extra gunpowder, and you just slam him again, get the extra continuation. What you know, your backflip combo, front flip combos, man. So now you start backflipping, front flip, swagging on these ass. Just come back. And the LB is 60 seconds, bro. The LB, dude, I did not know Gunbreaker LB was 60 seconds, man. That means, like, I can fight mid. It's like old Meteor Drive. Like, I can fight mid. I can win the fight mid with fucking the 60-second tempo LB. Just fucking slam that shit in. And then by the time we hit 50% and they're respawn, I got that shit up again. I just got it again. And now you just got to fight me on my point, on the 50% point with the Beyblade Let It Rip. You know, it's like, it feels insane. And like,
it's like a lot of it's weird though, right? It's a lot of Gunbreaker tech is countered by either people with awareness of what Gunbreaker can do, and it's being like shut down by the game itself. Is double down and terminal, or I guess relentless rush plus terminal trigger. You can get shafted by somebody simply just pressing sprint and walking away, or somebody just looking at you, because you're not gonna relentless. Well,
So
you can't. You're not gonna relentless under no mercy, right? So if you get no mercy and they have LB, then they're probably gonna press LB, and then you just hold guard, and then there goes Gunbreaker LB. Whereas Monk, you can't do anything. You're gonna get your guard stripped, and you're gonna get blown up anyways. as well as double down, like being server tick based. Like if they sprint or walk out of it, you're missing an instant 12k, which would be I think like 16k under No Mercy. It just feels kind of weird.
I'm glad you're having fun on it, Rami, but I think that Gunbreaker's turbo useless and awful. I think it's C.
Yeah, for LP, yeah, I think.
No, for the LP and SOLOQ, because
yeah, you
the
get
problem is that like
yeah.
you're saying that versus like the worst players ever. Like if you have half a brain cell, you'll never die to Gunbreaker. It's like impossible to die to Gunbreaker.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those jobs where like you need the enemy to be kind of bad to get a lot of value out of it.
You can put Gunbreaker above Bard, but like this thing is like so awful. Whenever I see Tomo on my team, that Gunbreaker like is the worst thing ever. Like there's gonna be one person on point at a time, and they just press guard. It takes 3 seconds to go off. Like, and they have nothing outside of. They have nothing outside of LB.
Is I'm feeling hopeful about Gunbreaker, dude. I fucking love that shit.
If you play Gunbreaker, you have to play like Gunbreaker Dancer or something like.
You have to have something to combo.
And are you really trying to get all this setup for a Gunbreaker? Like you can get one, you just die instantly the second you press LB.
Honestly, it just feels like if I was just playing Dragoon instead, you just do the same shit. But Gunbreaker just seems like cooler.
Like whenever I play versus Tomo, he just dies in every polymorph. Like that class is useless.
Yeah, it's definitely countered by brain cells, and I hate relying on jobs that do that, to be honest, because I don't like assuming my team is really, really bad. Like, if I'm just queued into random people, sure, but the off chance you get queued into somebody with a poly and a brain, man, you're not going to have much fun, I promise you. Because you're going to get, like, server ticked, you're going to get your Relentless Rush stopped by CC. Like, every time I'm playing Monk and I'm against a Gunbreaker, dude, I just save Enlightenment for every single Relentless Rush. And then just one Enlightenment to ruin their day.
Like, what do you think happens if you LB and I just guard and then poly you, or they just raw poly you? Like, it's over.
That's unfortunate, man. I like Gunbreaker a lot, but I guess you guys have made, like, the correct points. You know, like, I still think it's a fucking banger class.
I think it's fine, but there's just a ton of counterplay you can do. Like, it's hard to just get your stuff off.
I feel like one thing about Gunbreaker that is like kind of like underrated is that like your normal GCD follow through is like always rolling through big damage numbers. Like the Gnashing Fang triple combo plus continuations, and then once that's over, you get the Fell Cleave plus the rebound, and then like you're always rolling high DPS numbers. So even like putting the LB aside, you still do like a shit ton of damage just off your normal buttons. So I kind of don't know like how good it is in the long run, but I'm like trying to feel it out.
Definitely copium, because Dark can do the same thing and it has bind or draw in, right? Dark or Gunbreaker actually has negative CC.
So it's the same thing, right? Like
CC.
So if you're playing Gunbreaker, that's not a tank spot. That's a damage slot, and your tank is Paladin. And like, are you really gonna be running Paladin Gunbreaker? Like, this shit seems awful.
Yes, I'll tell you what. I'll give you Gunbreaker on Volcanic Heart. I think that's actually good because of just there's no way, man. It's because like you can still one tick. Like if you 3-stack orb 1-tick terminal on somebody, like they're gonna die in a double down, and people are gonna get caught in a double down.
But you just instantly CC the Gunbreaker and they're done in the CC instantly.
Yeah.
It's like the only class that's like that, I feel.
Yeah, that's like as much as I give it. Yeah, it's like it's okay on Volcanic Heart. I wouldn't take it anywhere.
No, it's the best. It's the best on Volcanic Heart for sure.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. I stopped playing Gunbreaker, let me tell you something. I stopped in season 2. It was cool when nobody knew what the fuck they were doing, but now that people are, especially this season, like when you start going against competent white mages, man, you might rethink, like for real.
Yeah, I guess it's true because like it's like we said, like the SOLOQ environment is improving, so like maybe this like having fun shit isn't gonna work out. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Alright, dude. I was unfortunate, dude. I really wish I could put the Gunbreaker a little bit higher, but it is what it is.
I mean, if you have fun, then like it's all you, man. If you're climbing with it, then fuck, we take those.
White Mage is back, baby. I'm putting it right here. I don't know if it's S, but I think it is at the top of A tier comfortably.
I think,
So I think
S, right?
I think it's top of A in SOLOQ and it's like top of S in LP.
Top of S in LP? So
Yeah.
you think it's better than Paladin?
Yeah.
I'll put it at bottom of S for like just to
I
combine.
mean, Poly
the
is
two
just the most
positions.
disgusting shit.
I feel like the main thing about White Mage is that we had forgotten about White Mage since it was like weakened or whatever, but now that it's back, bro, the laser beam on 60 seconds, that's just gotta get nerfed, bro. That's just gotta be bumped up to 75, man. That shit is OD. You can actually get one comboed by a White Mage like by himself, like Afflatus plus LB plus Seraph Strike. It's like 50k or something. So it's like if you're like slightly weakened, like you're dead. The guy will just kill you himself. He doesn't even need his team. I want to try and give the.
Well, it's like
the
I
mic.
think it's like 40, but yeah, it's pretty good.
I wanna give you like the spotlight right now, Ori, since you're the healer expert.
Yeah, for sure. So polymorph is just meta defining. The entire meta is just killing someone in a polymorph. But the nerf was definitely a big deal on range because it makes it so that you have to be very coordinated with the poly. Like in SOLOQ, it's still really insane, but like it's different since you have to get a Seraph Strike global off, or you already have to be in melee to get the poly off on the kill target. So, and if they like insta guard on your Seraph Strike, you're not getting the polymorph. So I will say that I think it's SOLOQ, it's a bit weaker, but it can still carry really hard. Also, it's like I run into the problem a lot. Like, if your team just doesn't have enough damage, if your team is like not hitting the right targets, like it doesn't matter if you poly someone, they're just not going to die in the poly, and then that's it, right? LB is great, obviously. Even defensively, it's so good to have Temperance. I think the main thing is in LP, you're able to have a countdown and you poly like on someone's Purify on a stun, or you just Purify into, or you polymorph into a stun, and if you're coordinated, they will die 100 to 0 in the polymorph. So that's where it's S tier, I think. When you're able to get the countdown where you're able to get in range to polymorph before like on the go, it's going to be a guaranteed kill. That being said, I think the polymorph nerf was actually like pretty meaningful. I think it was a really good nerf for SOLOQ or just in general, because you have to play very far up and you can get punished. And in SOLOQ, when it's not coordinated, it's very likely that they're going to get guard off before you can get the poly before you get in range. That being said, yeah, I mean it's broken. It's meta
What do you think
defining.
about the healing output? It feels like playing against, like I'm a ninja player and I play against white mages. It feels like I have to be a lot more patient because like the random healing, like the cure 3s that that just like tap my target. It's like my target's not like the main target of the team fight, and like a cure 3 will like tap him, and like 15k is different than 12k. Like, do you think like the AoE healing?
Well, I think that buff to Cure 3 was like pretty nice just because like it healed the same as Cure 2. I think it didn't really change too much because like Seraph Strike Cure 3 was already like a big deal, and like being able to hold it. I mean, it's definitely a buff is a buff, right? But it definitely feels like really nice to Seraph Strike Cure 3 and then have to like hard cast Cure 2 and it does like nothing compared to other healers. So I think the healing buff is definitely nice, but it's not like crazy. I think most of the time you're already topping someone with the Seraph Strike Cure 3.
Do you think that because like before people used to feel like Astrologian was like the only real healer in the game. Do you think that like White Mage can count as like a main healer?
No, definitely not. The change didn't change that. You're hard casting a Cure 3 and you're doing 12k with it. Like, it's not enough. Or it is enough for how it is. I'm just saying it's not enough to be clarified as a pure healer.
Okay. All right.
Like, it's 2-second cast for a 12k heal. It's pretty rough. I mean, it's obviously great that has it. I mean, I've saved many people like on a Mecha V with it, but compared to Scholar and Astro, it's like not comparable at all. Like Scholar, you can do like 60k plus, just spamming UCDs.
Well, here we go.
And Scholar is crazy.
Where does Scholar belong? I feel like Scholar belongs somewhere here.
The nerf was like substantial for sure, but I think it wasn't like big enough to really change anything. Like the bigger deal is that it had a lot of synergy with Astro, a lot of synergy with like comps that were like play off of LBs, and because of Spire getting nerfed, it definitely changed how good Scholar is in that way. It's you know, you're not getting your Seraph fast enough, you're not playing as many comps that are sustained. It's a pretty bursty meta, but that being said, like you can definitely find a spot for Scholar still. Like even for season 1 we were playing White Mage Scholar, like it's just such a good healer. It does so much damage. It it gives the it gives the
damage down is actually like invaluable.
Gives the healing reduction. The dot's great. So I think it's pretty up, and I think where you have it's pretty good.
Do you think it's middle of A? Like, should it be closer to this side, or?
I'd say it's middle or bottom, just because even if it's great, it depends like what comp are you playing with it, right? I think, yeah.
Like over here?
Yeah, over there is good. It's kind of similar to Astro, so the massive nerf to Spire getting removed. But that being said, it still has the crazy spot healing, really good burst. I think that the damage down card is underrated, but it's significantly weaker than before. I don't think you would ever play it over White Mage or Scholar, really.
What do you think, and also, would you consider Scholar as, like, main healer, or no? Like, you have to be
Scholar's definitely... Scholar can be main healer. But I think most of the time, it's just, like, when are you going to be playing Scholar over White Mage? And...
Well, we also don't know if we're going to have double healer again, because it seems like the meta is going to be White Mage plus 3 DPS.
For sure, but you can definitely, I think you can definitely find a comp where you can play White Mage and Scholar together. Just depends like what you're playing. I think it's definitely a lot weaker than before. Like if you're playing White Mage Scholar, you're probably dropping Paladin, honestly, and that's like a lot to do, but you can do it.
Dropping Paladin is a tough ask, but yeah. What do you guys think about Astro? I feel like if we're just going based off of the Scholar position, I'll put Astro like around here.
I would put Astro in B, I'd say.
Really? Astro is like worse than... Okay, let's go like job by job. Do you think Astro is worse than Samurai?
No, it's top of B.
Okay. So just with Astro, like with the only change being that Spire is removed from the game, like just that is enough to put it from like top of A tier to B tier? Just that by itself?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Because it just like made a lot of comps work, like be enough, and balance is still insane. It still has a lot of damage, still has spot healing, but I feel like the meta will change. I think again, if you're playing with Astro, you're going to be playing White Mage Astro and trying to kill on the burst with like double gravity macro, but I just don't see it a way, like you were playing it because you were able to keep people alive and give them Spire, like give them balance. I don't know if it's the same anymore. I could be completely wrong, and like it's just like you have to play White Mage, I feel like.
Like if we think of like mandatory jobs, it seems like we have the 3 mandatory jobs right here.
Yeah.
And then we have like pick 2 from A tier, pick 2. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 4, 5, or 4, 5.
Yeah, you're either playing like triple melee, and like I'm counting. So you're either playing it with like, pretty much what you said. And if you're playing either Astro or Scholar, or even Sage, because I think Sage is pretty good as well, but like you need to play along with White Mage, you need a really high damage burst comp to make it work, pretty much.
Where do you think Sage belongs? I was actually seeing some stuff where like they take Sage just as like a DPS. They just take it for the vulnerability on Toxicon.
Sage is one of the best bursts in the game, paired with White Mage. If you hold your combo, it's really, really ridiculous. I mean, it's like 28k burst, and you're giving 10% damage up to your team. And you have the dot, through guard. You have probably one of the best W's in the game, but it's very long cooldown, which can make it rough. I would say it's bottom of A, it's kind of the same thing with the tanks where if you're playing it, like you're not gonna replace white mage.
Yeah,
you're gonna have
anything
to play
that
along
takes
with
the
white
white,
mage.
yeah, anything that takes the white mage slot away from you is like a detriment to the team.
But I think if you're playing a hard aggro comp okay, first of all, actually I would put it a bit higher up in A because it's a solo queue carry. Like this drop does insane in solo queue. Like you can solo carry so easily.
More than warrior.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
It just has more damage and you can keep people alive.
All right, bet.
And then you can play it with like a hard aggro comp with like, I would play Paladin, Dragoon, White Mage, Sage, and then like either Red Mage or Sam, maybe even Dark Knight. You can play something like that, and just you're killing people in a polymorph. Like you have the most possible damage in a polymorph, right? Something like that. And you're looking for ways to run a Paladin, but still have enough burst to kill in a stun. And Sage can definitely help with that. It has a lot of element management burst, but it's less sustained damage than other melees, damage dealers. And you can't, since you have to like hold your cooldowns for the next burst, basically. But still gives shields, still does a decent amount of healing, but I don't know if it's worth it enough to drop like pure DPS. Especially because the LB, even though it's amazing, it's just a very long cooldown.
It's just so long, yeah. I mean, one thing I will say about the LB is that, like, you have another, like, if you play into Sage LB, you're just going to lose. So it acts like Hollow Ground, kind of, where it's like, if you could last until the Hollow Ground comes up, you'd have two flips. You know, you'd have Hollow Ground plus the cage, the Sage cage. Yep. But one thing I want to say is that, like, I'm not really sure about this B tier for Astro. Like, is Celestial River, like, still not in the game? Like, plus 30% to your team, minus 30% to the opposing team? Like,
but that's another thing where it's like, yeah, that was amazing, but it was amazing because it was so short cooldown because of Spire. Like,
yeah, Spire was
like,
just...
Like, that is such a long cooldown, and it's not good enough for it to be that long of a cooldown. Like, you're using it, 9 out of 10 times, you're using it behind a pillar on a go. Like, you can't just jump on point and use it versus a good team.
Yeah, that's true.
You could definitely put it like bottom of A. I would agree with that, but it's just like the Spire nerf definitely hurt a lot, and the fact that you're going to be running it alongside White Mage, it changes the comps that you're able to play.
Well, if it comes back to like the replacing White Mage, where it's like if you're going to replace White Mage, then it's going to be a problem. What do you think about Astro and SOLOQ? Like, is it still good, or would you be better off just playing a different healer?
I think you'd be better off playing either White Mage or Sage, or even Scholar. I think that you're able to keep people alive, but like the advantage of SOLOQ is you're able to keep people alive as Astro and then give them their funny button, and people can just click their funny LB button and kill someone because the buttons are overtuned.
All right. I mean,
I think the damage are down card very underrated, but it's basically the same as our balance hasn't changed at all. I think that I forget what the last card is called, but it's just so weak.
The bull, arrow? Which is the arrow. The bull is like damage down, like you take less damage, and then weak. Arrow is like GCD haste plus movement
like you compare haste. Arrow compared to Spire, it's just not comparable, I think.
Yeah.
But
well, nothing is going to be as good as Spire, to be honest.
Yeah, but you can definitely find a comp that can work where you play White Mage Astro. I'm not sure what it would be, but you know, Astro has decent bursts. You have double gravity macro, and you can do that in a poly. And I think you could see a shift in the meta where Astro gets played more because it can counter White Mage a bit, where it can try and keep people alive in a polymorph. But yeah, I mean, it just doesn't have a great LB, I think, with how long the cooldown is. Yeah.
Alright. So that's going to be the end of the tier list. Thank you everyone for showing up. Before like we end, is there any like final thoughts on any of these positions? Do you want to move them? Like, do you think these are fine?
I mean, I think it's fine. It's just really hard to like judge it based because, you know, it just changes so much based on SOLOQ or LP, but I feel like this is a pretty good overall list.
Yeah. I mean, I try my best to like put the two like perspectives together, because like whatever happens in LP eventually bleeds into SOLOQ. Like, people are cover guarding like in SOLOQ and potting and shit, so it's like eventually it's gonna like bleed into the SOLOQ gameplay.
Yeah, I think the biggest example to me would probably be White Mage, where like it's very hard to coordinate like a a kill on polymorph in SOLOQ, but in LP it's like the standard.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we'll see how that. I would hate to play like two different metas, like where one meta is like completely different than the other meta, but I think like they're eventually gonna like end up matching in general. Obviously blue mage is the best job in the game because it saves you from playing PvP. You can't, if you play blue mage you don't play PvP, God bless.
True.
And that's it for the video. All right, thank you guys for watching, and shout outs to Wiggins Island, Versace, and fucking original 9 times rank 1 player World of Warcraft for pulling up to the video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.